prisoner.
I
And
would agree.
that can be spread out.
I love that you actually said that because I'm actually thinking about to the original talk about when we started with hobbies. As long as you're doing something to keep yourself sane,
Yes.
right? Because we're talking about situations. I do know that I'm a homebody now because my mind is my temple, and I meditate in my temple. I work on my temple every day, and that's why I subscribe to personally, and I think it's insulting other people. Only the boring can be bored. I don't get bored. I got close. This quarantine is the closest I've ever been to bored. Some random thing that I found on the internet to read, or I have my own personal library here. Books that I like, oh, you did want to read this, and I'm now reading. That happened. And I think that now, that's why I'm on that subject of like hobbies and what people do is like, get in touch with. No, here's my final statement because I want you to get in touch with what you love in these harsh times. Because when times pick up and you're feeling sad, those things when you had nothing, those
will
are the
mean
things
so much more.
you can use to fill in. I think that this is a time of learning for people if they use it right. To find out who you are. I spent so much time, most of my youth was figuring out who the fuck I was. That's what I did with my life. When people were doing other things and fascinated by other shit, external things, I did that. I think that that's important, and I think that at this point in time, we have the time to do those things. We have the time to work on those things.
We have
and
time to do more than those things.
Absolutely. So for me, is when I was thinking about hobbies, I was thinking about those arbitrary, because I think when you think about them objectively, they're all arbitrary things that if you use them in a certain way, they are beneficial to you. Work on yourself in the ways that you are built and you can build yourself. So that's what I'm talking about, hobbies. What do you think out of all that? So again, with all this time, let's say we have another 2-3 months. What do you think? Whether it be internal, external.
What are my plans?
No, internal, external. What do you think is the best way to go about? And here's the thing: I'm going to tell you
if
my
it's going to
favorite
last
word.
2 or 3 months, going home and still not paying rent and probably find a job through connections in my hometown, and then as soon as shit gets better, flying back here to work
what
back here.
What I want to say is like not the overall plan, but I want to say is like if this extends a certain amount of time. In the meantime, when all you have is yourself and personal interactions, what's the thing? What's the thing that you think to do? What's to keep you sane, to keep you stimulated? What's
having fun. Having fun with people I love having fun with. Look, I love you asking me this question because everyone else, even my own flesh and blood, who his place got shut down a week before where we are got shut down. I started my vacation a week and a half before his place got shut down. So I came back to where we are during the quarantine from my hometown, and literally our assistant GM who's from the same place I am was just
nice.
Was just oh, you're back in California? I'm sorry. I thought you would have just stayed home. I'm like, wow, is shit really that fucked right now? Because I've been through fucking avian flus and swine flus and bird flus and all the other shit you can think of from China.
No pandemics.
Yeah. But, well, I mean, they were fake pandemics.
Yeah.
But then, so that's why when this one came around, I was just like, oh, it's another fake pandemic. Even up to when they started shutting shit down, I was just like, why are they shutting shit down for this fake pandemic? But now I kind of get it. And I think a lot of it equated to, I had the perfect travel plans from going from San Francisco to Madison.
My bad.
And then Madison back to San
I was
Francisco.
supposed to go with him at a time.
You were.
Yeah.
But you would have enjoyed it anyway, because it wouldn't be the traditional Wisconsin.
Oh.
It wouldn't be the traditional Wisconsin, like, Madison. I already noticed, and I got a penthouse hotel for like 4 days in a row.
So can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How does it affect you going forward? Because that's what's really important is like,
so for me,
we don't change as people. This pandemic is going to change society in some way.
Oh yeah.
But for the individual, was it a change for you?
So for me as an individual, it affects it like the whole reason I came to work here at the place I'm working at now came from like me and my ex like splitting apart because I initially contacted my brother to work out here while we were still together, and she's like, if you go out there, and then we started discussing things, and then I wound up out here. But
you can't control me.
But that's what I learned from that, like, 7.5, 8 year long relationship. It's like, oh, I'm not doing the shit I used to do before we were together and would do anything to keep us together.
I'm glad you can't hear the soundtracks that I play sometimes randomly. There was a round of applause while you were talking, just so you know.
Well, thank you.
I mostly use the gunshot. Also, I should... Never mind, keep going.
I'm sorry, yeah. But anyway, like, if it wasn't for that and this and where my own brother was and other people I knew out here for connections to get me in where I was and where I am now, like, I mean, the only reason I hit him up in the first place because I got fired from the job I had worked at for
how does that
10
affect you in the
years.
future?
The future being that, like, all the people I had the closest connections with outside of my family were all in the place I worked at for work. And so that was why he was the first one I thought of, because out of the rest of my family, I don't want to do any of the things the rest of my family does outside of, like, what my younger brother does, and then... That's how, like, I got out here.
Give me information, but I don't understand the functionality. I want to know how what we're doing now changes what you do in the future. Are you going to live the same life you did pre-coronavirus, or
I probably am, because
same life, yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Because I've gone through it both virally and, like, shut down everythingly. Because I lived through, like, bird flu, swine flu, avian flu, and also 9/11. Which is basically, if you combine 9/11 with any of the first three things I just said, that's basically what this is. Without a terrorist attack.
My only argument was, like, 9/11. I remember getting drunk in a park with my friends because we were like, it's the end of the world. We're 18 or 17 and don't know shit. The difference is like,
yeah,
and even though I'm a homebody, I get people being like, where's my freedoms? And what I hope people think, what I hope is people respect their freedoms a little bit more now, and people understand and fight for other people's freedoms now more.
So what I remember from 9/11 is waking up from like the 140th time I had tripped on acid because I was like 19. And I should have been woken up that early, and it was like noon. I put the phone to my ear, and this is still home phone because it's 2001. This is still landlines and shit. We were just tripping acid the night before at my mom's spot, and I pick up the phone. It was like at noon, and I'm just like, "What?" It just went like, "What?" And my mom's like, this is like the 15th time I have called you. Turn on the TV.
Holy shit.
And then I turned on the TV to see, like, the first plane and the one that hit the Pentagon. I was just in time to see the second plane that hit the second World Trade Center.
So the one thing, being devil's advocate, I'm gonna go back to the substances. You're on drugs. You're doing all that. I can blame your ignorance on being on a drug.
Of course.
All those.
I can't
Tell me if I'm being on the conservative and being like blah blah blah. Obviously, you couldn't even done something different. What's the difference if? What's the difference in those situations?
So
being experienced with substances.
So I would say being experienced with substances. If I was a Democrat who was even involved in a little part of 9/11, everyone would have had to been on any type of motivational drug in the world.
You drug your constituents.
Conservatively, I would say that, like, oh, the Middle East did it, and then once they made the connections,
you jump to a conclusion.
Once they made the connections, they'd be like, no, well, I mean, like, I can't. You'd lie your, you try to lie your way out of it.
Both of the things you just said to me seem extreme. So
Yeah.
it seems
Because
like,
I'm an independent.
So as an independent, but they both parties
Like-
are the extremes.
I mean, look at this.
No,
I'm
answer
from
that.
I'm
both
from
parties
Wisconsin.
are the extremes. And
Yes,
you're
yeah,
from
in
swing
my
state.
opinion.
Mhm. Cool.
So I'm from
Swing
Wisconsin,
state?
and the city we hate, the state we hate the most is
Which
Jesse
swings as hard
Ventura.
as any state.
The state we hate the most is Minnesota because it's right next to us, and there are modern competitors for every sport. However, I will give them Jesse Ventura because they're the only state in the last 20 years that elected an independent governor of their entire fucking state. And the man used to be a bodybuilder. But he's smart as fuck, and he knows what he's talking about. Even though he's got crazy hair. But it's mostly the fact that he's not willing to he's willing to go to one extreme or the other.
Right.
Which I blame myself and a lot of people who are like me for getting George Bush Jr. elected in 2000 and 2004 because we were all Ralph Nader fans. The independents fucked the Democratic Party in 2000 and 2004.
All right. Here's what we're going to do. We got a few more minutes left. It's about 30 minutes left. We're going to go on our last break. Have a final rant. Maybe. Sound good to you?
There's not going to be a recorded but unreleased 20-minute session of this one.
One second. What just happened?
Oh my god, is all the booze gone?
I think so.
The rest of this might not be that entertaining.
This is a weird break. Start that over. I don't know why I just did that.
Don't ask why. Also, don't drink Bud Dry.
Oh, God. Don't be a bitch. Sorry, fans.